Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where today we're going to be taking a look at a new Civivi that happens to be one of my favorite collab designs of the year, especially in that budget realm. And what we have here is the Civivi Odd 22. Now, before I go any further into this review, I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in today. If you like what you see, please do me a huge favor, hit that subscribe button, follow along, and I will continue to bring you the content. Now, before we dive into this full review, let's take a look at some overall specs on this knife right here. We have an overall length of 7.13 inches, with a blade length coming in at 2.97 inches, and a blade width of 1.41 inches, a relatively wide blade here. We have a blade thickness of 120 thousandths, with a blade material of, you know I love it, 14C28N. Where's the marking? Where's it hidden? It's got to be hidden here somewhere. There it is. 14C28N. Love seeing that on a budget knife. We have a blade grind of a flat grind with a handle length coming in at 4.17 inches, a very beautiful clip point blade style, as well as a handle thickness of 470 thousandths, with a handle material of, as you can see, micarta, a liner lock locking mechanism, a user of a right or left hand tip up carry, a weight coming in at 3.46 ounces, designed by Tough Knives. We'll talk a little more about them here towards the end of this video, and a price of a very reasonable, very nice $61, and that's for this model. There's a G10 version with a non-coated blade and just black G10 for like $59.25 or something like that. So very reasonable, very affordable, and a very attractive design for the price. And a big name, a good, reputable name with the price. I don't know about everybody else out there, but I love Tough Designs' work. I think they make phenomenal designs, and I'm really happy to see them doing a collab with Civivi. Let's take a look at some overall specs. We did that. Size comparisons. Yeah, that's where we are here. Size comparisons. Now, as you can see, we'll stick within the realm of Civivi today. And as you can see, we have the Conspirator, which is considerably smaller than, as well as the Brazen. The reason I'm bringing these two out is because it really is a lot like the Conspirator and Brazen in terms of handle size. It's kind of got that wide little, I don't know if I'd say chunky, but slightly wider, more filling handle, which I really like, and a smaller package because the overall length is a lot closer to something like these two guys right here, like the Civivi Elementum or the newer Civivi Altus. So a lot more similar in length, but it doesn't have the slimmer, more kind of slender handles that these two knives have. I don't know if I'd call them really slender, but this has definitely a little more girth in that handle, and I appreciate that. I like that. It feels very nice in the hand. But in terms of overall length, you have it right there with the Elementum and the Altus. Now, going into this blade, I'll be very honest, in terms of like the actual blade shape and where the tip is, it may not be like my go-to blade shape because I tend to use the tip a lot for me, and when it comes to like draw cuts and just the type of cuts I do in a normal day, I really do enjoy a tip that's more towards the middle of the pivot or maybe even more towards the front. But there's no denying that this is one very attractive, very good looking blade that still has a lot of belly that can be very useful. Even if you can't use that tip for draw cuts, a nice slicey belly will still, depending on what you're cutting, do the job pretty well. Behind the edge reading here, we have 16 thousandths, which is a nice slicey reading, especially when you combine that with a relatively high flat grind. Not a full flat grind, but that's a pretty, I would say that's probably a good inch worth of a flat grind. So pretty nice geometry, especially in that budget area. You're getting a very useful, very functional blade that'll hold up just fine with that great 14C28N steel. Another thing that I really like on a lot of Civivis, but especially this knife, and I've said this before, but the jimping on the flipper tab, Civivi, they might be the only one out there that consistently does this right. There's other brands that do a good job on it, but the jimping, they cover all around the flipper tab. And for someone like me, I really do love that. Like that, to me, that's very underrated because it makes it very easy to just push button. And then of course, You can also light switch it, and either one, you have enough traction to do that. And it's also a relatively minimal flipper tab. It's not very big. Looks okay on the knife, doesn't look like Dumbo ears or anything. And then you have the thumb studs, which are very nice, placed very well, out of the way of most of the cutting path, so no real issue there. And a nice tip. A nice tip. This is good. This would be a good knife for, more like thrusts and stuff like that. And it would also just be a good knife that you need a lot of belly for. That belly is going to extend your cut as you push through, give you longer cutting strokes. So very nice blade paired with a handle that feels really good in hand. I don't know if I would, go saying they're like phenomenal hand hugging ergos, but they are very comfortable. It's just enough here for a full 4-finger grip for me that I really enjoy. And you have some contouring here that really does, you do feel it. You notice that when you hold it in hand. You notice that little bit of slenderness down here towards the bottom of the swell. And then up here, you don't quite notice it nearly as much, but it is still noticeable, and it still feels really good in hand. I also, again, going back to this swell here, this right here is what provides an excellent grip. This kind of just sits in your palm, and up here, it gives you a really good area to pinch, hold on to the knife very securely. And the micarta on this, in terms of like appearance and like grain and like the kind of micarta that I like to see, it's very average, but in terms of grip and texture, it's very good. Nice amount of tackiness on it, so gives you that extra little bit of security when holding the knife in hand. Like that a whole lot. Another thing I really like on this, the blacked out C, and wait for it, this clip. Look at this clip. This is not your typical Civivi clip. It's nothing special, but it doesn't have that kind of that goofy, extra fancy look that I see in the regular Civivi clips that I'm really not a fan of. I've been overly clear about that over my reviews in the past, and I really like seeing this one. It's simple, but it goes well with the knife. Deep carry, easily. There's no problem there. Fully recessed screws, and it does feel good in hand. I don't have any hot spot, no issue with it. Really digging this clip. The only thing that would be cool is if the clip had kind of the same like black crackle wash that is on the blade, because I love this finish that Civivi puts on their blades. It's pretty much the same as Kaiser, and I think they both do a phenomenal job of it. The only thing that would make it better is if the clip didn't have quite that sheen. I mean, I could probably take some type of like a real fine grit sandpaper or something and maybe do something similar, but it would be nice if it just came stonewashed like the blade. That'd be very nice. But again, we're starting to get a little nitpicky for a $61 knife that is already doing a pretty good job of impressing here. The only thing on the handle that I don't love, it's adequate, it's good enough, but I think it could have been a little better, was the liner lock access. Still very accessible. You can get in there pretty easily, close the blade. You just kind of have to smash your thumb in there a little more than I would want. Again, it's not hard. It's no reason to like second guess a purchase. I just feel like they could have done a slightly better job of that, making it a little easier to get in there and close the liner lock. But once you do close that liner lock, you have some pretty smooth action on this guy. And you do on most Civivis. I would say in terms of action, it's kind of, I think it's pretty much on par for Civivi. Now keep in mind, what is on par for Civivi is very high, because when it comes to action, Civivi is one of the best. They definitely have some of the smoothest action out there. And when you have a bigger, wider blade like this, now it's not really big in terms of length, but in terms of width, you have a 1.41 inch blade. So that's a lot of steel in terms of width. So you just have a decent amount of weight in the steel. So when you go to close it, the blade falls down itself very easily, and just a few very light shakes and this blade falls shut very easily. And when it comes to that flipper, it's phenomenally smooth. No issue whatsoever with the action on this knife. Very, very enjoyable. Thumb studs are very nice too. If I had to pick one form of deployment, I might go flipper. The flipper, it really whips that blade out. But then, of course, you can also middle finger flick and all that good stuff. So I really do enjoy both forms of deployment, and it is very smooth. It kind of reminds me of like a smoother or a smaller Brazen in terms of action. I always rant and rave about the Brazen. I still love it. But this is just as smooth as that, and just a much more differently aesthetic package and in a smaller package. So really big fan of this guy. Overall thoughts are very good. I'm really, really happy with this. I bought this the moment I saw it available. And I wanted to get this review out to you guys ASAP because I think it's going to be a pretty hot seller for Civivi. Even though it's not a button lock, you know, button locks aren't everything. This is a phenomenal liner lock that looks great. And that's another thing I want to hit on real quick. Tough Knives. I'm really, really happy to see Tough Knives collaborating with someone like Civivi. And I don't care if it would have been Civivi, Kaiser, QSP, some other Best Tech, some other budget form of knife in that $50 to $70 range. I'm really loving seeing designers like Tough Knives and just designers that we all really enjoy their work. But, you know, not all of us can drop $200+ on a collab with, you know, a high-end Best Tech or Riot or someone like that. I love seeing designs from renowned designers like that become available in a budget form. And that's one of the things that I really harp on is like, where's the community going to go? Where's the industry going to go in terms of offerings in the future? Because they've been so good lately, and it's been so hard to where, like, I just keep asking myself, when is this going to slow down? Like, how are we going to keep this pace and keep getting better? And I really think the key to improving, and even if we're not like taking steps forward, if we're just staying where we are, because the industry is in such a good place right now in terms of variety and competition and quality and affordability on these budget knives from Civivi and Kaiser and QSP and all the good ones. I really want to see these big companies keep collaborating with makers and designers like Tough Knives, like Ray Laconico, like Jesper Voxness, like you name it. You know, the designs, the in-house designs are nice. And there's some in-house designs that are phenomenal. I'm not knocking the in-house designs, but I love seeing designers that we all know and love and want and sometimes can't afford. I love seeing that in an affordable package. So I applaud Civivi for going this route. I hope to see a lot more from them and Kaiser and all the other brands collaborating with the designers and bringing designs that we all want to enjoy and throw in our pockets. This is a great one, the Civivi Odd 22. Guys, let me know what you think about this one. Highly recommend putting that in your cart and hitting that checkout button. That's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know what you think about it. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And until the next one, I'm out.